Good morning to everyone. I am Dr. K. Vijay Kumar, Associate Professor, Public Administration, Government City College, Hyderabad. Today, our topic is Union Administration. Union Administration, historical background, evolution of Indian administration. The Union Administration is the main topic. Then historical background of Union Administration and evolution of Indian administration. In this topic, these are the subtopics or objectives: introduction, Mauryan and Guptan administration. Mauryan and Guptan's administration. Saptanga theory of states. Saptanga theory of states. Features of Mauryan administration. Features of Mauryan administration. Then features of Gupta administration. Gupta's administration. Then administration during the Mughal and British period. Then features of Mughal administration. Then features of British administration. Then the comparison on administrative system. The comparison on administrative, the comparison of administrative systems. Then lastly, conclusion. Before we are going to discuss the Union administration, there is a historical background. So many dynasties, emperors ruled our India. So the main importance are the Maurya administration, then after Gupta administration, then after Mughal and British administration. What are the impacts and what are the administrative system in those days are all discussing in the topic, in this topic. Then these are the main objectives of the topic. Explain the concept of Saptanga theory of states. Saptanga theory of state, it is the famous theory in those days. Of course, Now it is also the name changed, but maximum features are also we are practicing. That is the greatness of theory. That theory, it is now also we are applying this type of theory in the modern democracy also. Then describe the important features of Mauryan dynasty and Gupta dynasty and Mughal and British administrations. There are so many important features in their days, in Mauryan administration, in Gupta administration, as well as in Mughal and British administration also. Then identify the similarities and dissimilarities of different administrative systems. These are the main objectives of the topic. Then introduction. Indian administration is one of the oldest administrative system. Indian administration is one of the oldest administrative system. The history of Indian administration began from ancient administration of Harappa times and continued up to the beginning of the first millennium until the establishment of Mughal administration. Then the Puranas, Smrutis, Itihasas, Ardhashastra pillars, and plate inscriptions during the Guptas, Megasthenes, Greek writings, Jain and Buddhist chronicles, and Ashoka's inscriptions from the important source of the study of administrative systems during the Mauryan and Gupta's period. There are so many Puranas, Smritis. The monument book that is Ardhashastra was brought in by Kautilya. His other name is Chanakya. And Vishnugupta also. His name was Vishnugupta, Kautilya and Chanakya. He has 3 names. He wrote great book that is Ardhashastra. Also some pillars and plate inscriptions during the Gupta's time, Gupta's period. Megasthenes, the great writer, Greek and great writer also, writings for evidences for the entire administration of Guptas. And Jain Buddhist chronicles and Ashoka inscriptions from the important source of the study of administrative system during the Mauryan and Gupta period. The Indian administration is the one of the oldest administrative systems. The history of Indian administration begins from the ancient administrative system of Harappa times and continued up to the beginning of the first millennium until the establishment of administration. The Puranas, and Smritis and Kautilya's Ardhashastra, pillar and plate inscriptions during Gupta's chronicles, Gupta and Vasavadatta's drama Mudra Rakshasas, Megasthenes' Greek writings, Jain and Buddhist chronicles, and Ashoka's inscriptions form an important source of the study of systems of during the Maurya and Gupta period. The study of these ancient administrative systems provides as the basic impetus to learn the relevance of some of the ideas to the study of this administrative system of governance in India in those days. In the medieval period, the Mughals left indelible impact on the administrative system of India. They ruled India for more than 3 centuries. In the medieval period, the Mughals left indelible impact on administrative system of India. They were ruled for more than 3 centuries, which gave them enough time and opportunities to plan and strengthen the administrative system. The Britishers, before the Britishers came to India, the Portuguese and Dutch had arrived for the purpose of same trade. Purpose of the trade. The East India Company fought a series of battles and established their supremacy by 1773. After the fall of the Mughal Empire, the company acquired a huge territory of India. The company acquired a huge territory of India and exerted immense political power. The company has two major goals. The East India Company has main two major goals are two. There were one is conquest and other one is consolidation. These are the major goals of East India Company. The company had a highly centralized administrative structure covering almost all part of the India. That is a great thing of the East India Company in those days. The company had a highly centralized administrative structure covering almost all parts of the India. The company had created vast administrative machinery. It created a vast administrative machinery and ruled India for about 200 years. 200 years. The close the administrative systems during these different periods would enable to know the efforts made in the past for effective governance and its relevances to the present day administration. The present administration in India, for that before a Mauryan administration, Gupta administration, Mughal administration and British administration. The first administration for effective governance and its relevance to the present day administration. The Mauryan and Gupta administration. Mauryan and Gupta administration. The Mauryan and Gupta empires had many things in common. They were both founded by men named Chandragupta. They both ruled Indian subcontinent and shared the same capital city of Pataliputra. Their capital is same for Maurya as well as Maurya as well as Guptas. The capital is Pataliputra. The Mauryan and Gupta empires had many things in common. They were both founded by men named, that is Chandragupta. They both ruled Indian subcontinent and shared the same capital city of Pataliputra. The Mauryan Empire was founded by Chandragupta Maurya around 320 BC. The Mauryan emperors continued to expand until they ruled almost entire Indian subcontinent. By 272 BC, including most of now India and Pakistan. The Gupta Empire was founded by Chandragupta I in AD 320 but never ruled territories as extensive as those of the Mauryan and at its height. The Mauryan and Gupta empires had many things in common. They were both founded by men named Chandragupta. They both ruled the Indian subcontinent and shared the same capital city at Pataliputra. The Gupta Empire never controlled as such territory as the Mauryan Empire was. The Gupta rulers patronized Hinduism. The Gupta rulers patronized Hinduism, unlike the Mauryan emperors who favored Buddhism. The Mauryans who favored Buddhism. The great king in the Mauryan period, the great Ashoka, he practiced the Buddhism. So the Mauryan Empire was founded Chandragupta Maurya around 320 BC. The Mauryan emperors continued to expand until they ruled almost the entire Indian subcontinent. By 272 BC, including most of now it is India and Pakistan also. The Gupta Empire was founded by Chandragupta I in AD 320 but never ruled territories as extensive as those of the Mauryan at its height. The Guptas controlled northern India and received tribute from the Vakatakas in central India, but never expanded into the south. The Mauryan Empire was governed by powerful emperors who established an elaborate bureaucracy, levied extensive taxes, and exercised direct control over the villages within its territories. Under the Gupta's period, villages were governed by their own headmen, and the central government did not seek to impose direct control. The Guptas delegated power to regional authorities who often succeeded in becoming hereditary feudal lords. The Gupta Empire was extremely wealthy. Taxes were never as extensive as under the Mauryan, and the imperial bureaucracy was smaller. These dynasties will further enhance about their specific administrative features which have some contemporary relevances. In this, the theory, Saptanga theory of state, this is the important theory in those days. Now it is also applicable. Saptanga, the Saptanga theory of state. In the Ardhashastra, the great book which was written by Kautilya or Chanakya or Vishnugupta. He has three names: Kautilya, Chanakya and Vishnugupta. In the Ardhashastra, the state is depicted as an organization consisting of the 7 organs: Saptanga, Sapta, 7 in English, Saptanga, it is an Sanskrit word, Saptanga, 7 organs. These are, the first one is Swami. Swami means the head or the master. He is the chief executive or chief legislator and chief judge. The main duty of the Swami was to look after the happiness and welfare of the people. Example you take head of the state or head of the institution or head of the department or head of the branch. Now, in those days, Swami. Now it is head of the branch, head of the institution, head of the one department. Example, you take judicial department, chief justice, head. Swami is Swami for the department. Example, you take revenue department. There is one senior most officer, he is the head of that department. Head of the department. So every department, every branch, every institution, there is a head. So in those days, his name was Swami. Is the, of course, he is the chief executive, chief legislator, and chief justice. But the main duty of the Swami was to look after the happiness and welfare of the people. That is the main and important duty of the Swami. That is the main organ in the Saptanga theory according to Arthashastra. Now it is also, names are changed, but now it is existing. Same Swami, head. Example, you take one district, one unit is the head of the district. Now it is collector. In those days, that is Swami. In those days. Then the second one is Amatya. Amatya. Amatya means mantri or minister. Amatya means minister or mantri. It also means various types of government officials along with the ministers. They included high officers such as the chief priest, ministers, collectors, treasurers, officers engaged in civil and criminal administration, officer in charge of RM, invoice, and the superintendents of various departments. In those days, they are Amatya. Now we are calling also Amatyalavaru. Nothing ministers, nothing but ministers in these days. Then next one is Janapada. Janapada means population and territory. Population and territory. According to Ardhashastra, the territory should have a good climate, provide grazable land, be fertile so that it yields grain with little labor and inhabited by industrious peasants who are capable of bearing the burden of taxes. That's called, it is Janapada, means population or territory. The next one is Durga. Durga, it means portness, ports, Golconda port. It is a Golconda Durga in those days, but Port, in English word port. Durga, it means portness, portress, portress, portress. Ardhashastra gives it a wider meaning, describing it in the sense of the fortified capital. Fortified capital. The next one is Kosa. Kosa means treasury. Kosa means treasury. According to Kautilya's Ardhashastra, this treasury accumulated righteous and legitimate means should be retained by the kind. It should be filled with gold, silver, precious jewelries and gems, and be able to stand the strain of expenditure during the times of adversity such as famines. This is the Kosa. Then Danda. Danda means army. According to Kautilya's Ardhashastra, the army should consist of hereditary, heired, forest and corporation soldiers comprising infantry, charioteer, infantry and cavalry. The army should be hereditary and royal. The army should be hereditary and royal. Their sons and wives should be contented with the maintenance received from the state. That is Danda. Then the last one is Mitra. Mitra is friendly state. According to Kautilya, the ally should be hereditary, not artificial, one with whom there is no possibility of dissent, and one who is ready to come to help when occasion demands. You have to maintain the friendly relationship with other states. Now also same we are doing, like they are doing in those days also. We are maintaining relations, our state with other states. Same Danda, we are also maintaining army, Durgas, Portness, Janapadas, Amatyas, Swamis. These are the even, and now it is also, we are also practicing, but the names are changed in this present times also. That is the greatness of Kautilya's Chanakyadudu, Chanakyaniti. That is the greatness of Kautilya. These are the important organs for every state. Little bit change, but they are maintaining these type of organs for every state in those days. That's called That's why we called it the greatest theory in those days, Saptanga theory of the stage of Kautilya's Ardhashastra. The administration was divided among a number of departments and managed by an efficient and highly organized bureaucracy. In those days also, in those days also. Then the features of Mauryan administration. The features of Mauryan administration. It is the main empire in the ancient Indian history. The Mauryan Empire was indeed the first attempt in India to secure administrative centralization on an extended scale. Monarchy was the prevailing form of government in the Mauryan period and was hereditary. It was very wide. The concerns life, religion, ethics, society, family, economic, culture, they by embracing whole life. The Mauryans maintained secrecy in administration and all measures were taken in safeguarding and practicing the government information. The Mauryan Empire was indeed the first attempt in India to secure administrative centralization on an extended scale. Monarchy was the prevailing form of government in the Mauryan period and was hereditary. The Mauryan state activity was very wide. The Mauryan state activity was very wide and was integrated into the vast institutional apparatus for all the main concerns of life. Vast institutional appearance for all the main concerns of life. These are religion, ethics, society, family, economic, and culture, thereby embracing the whole of life. The government by nature was authoritarian and the administration was organized in a autocratic form. Autocratic form. The Mauryans maintained secrecy in administration and all the measures were taken in safeguarding and protecting the government information. Protecting the government information. Then the central government. The central government. Nowadays we have central government, state government, local government. Same in those days also, they are also maintaining the same type of pattern. That type of pattern now we are maintaining. That is the greatness of those emperors, empires, dynasties. The central government of Mauryan period. The Mauryan government was highly centralized and bureaucratic in nature. The important institution of the central government were the king, the council of ministers, and the secretariat and civil services. In the central government, in the Mauryan period, there are three parts. One is the king, the second one is the council of ministers, the third one is secretariat and civil services. These are the three parts or three departments or three organs or three branches of the central government in the period of Mauryan government. Then the king. The Mauryan government was highly centralized and bureaucratic in nature. It was managed by the numerous officials of varying grades and enjoyed many privileges. It kept in touch with all phases the of the political, economic, and social life, and had at its command a mass of accurate and detailed information of human and material sources of the entire empire. The important institutions of the central government are same, the king, the council of ministers, and the secretariat and the civil services. Then the king. The king was the supreme authority. The king was the supreme authority. His well being was considered as the well being of the people of the empire. He was a constitutional monarch. He was a constitutional monarch bound by the common law of the land. He was a constitutional monarch bound by the common law of the land. Example, Aryavarta. Aryavarta. It was a kind of paternalistic government and everything bound for the people by the king. The king was an important element in the administrative apparatus of Mauryans. He was like a father to his people. He was the fountain head of all powers and authority and used to look after everything in the state. His duties were varied and manifold. Tomorrow we will uh, complete the Mauryan administration. Next class we will complete the Mauryan administration. Thank you.